Greetings, fellow detectives. Wizard Kitten here, bringing you a new video. This is a Create a Sim video from The Sims 4 in preparation for my Let's Play series that I'm getting ready to start, entitled And Then There Were None, named after the very popular book by Agatha Christie. It's an amazing book, and I suggest you read it. It will give you an idea of what's going to go on in this Let's Play. But anyway, we are starting with 8 Nancy Drew characters, 4 female characters and 4 male characters, and I got these ideas from a fan page on Facebook from all of you guys, so thank you so much for your suggestions. First, we've got the beautiful Professor Hotchkiss here, Beatrice Hotchkiss, and she was a lot of fun to make. I thought this hair was perfect for her, just this crazy curly locks. I had pictures up of all of the characters, and I tried to get them as close as possible, but they won't look exactly like they do in the games. They are definitely going to have a Sims 4 aesthetic, as well as my own personal spin on them. So yeah, this is Professor Hotchkiss. I just love this hair. It's great. She was a lot of fun to do because she's just such a wacky character. She's in Treasure in the Royal Tower, the 4th mystery in the Nancy Drew series, and I think when we get to her traits, we'll learn a little bit more about her too. But yeah, anyway, for this series, there's going to be 8 of these Nancy Drew characters. They're all going to be stuck in a house together, and they will be unable to leave this house, and slowly but surely, they will be eliminated from the house in various different ways. If you've read And Then There Were None, then you might have an idea of how they will be eliminated. They won't just leave of their own accord, and they won't just get there of their own accord. So it's kind of exciting. I'm really excited to start recording it, but I wanted to show you guys the characters first. So we've got the beautiful Professor Hotchkiss coming into shape here. She has this really bright green eyeshadow in the game and this bright red lipstick, so I wanted to keep her true to that. I did turn her into an elder, but I turned off aging in the game for the Let's Play, so there won't be any problems with her being an elder. She just looked more like Professor Hotchkiss with the facial features and the wrinkles when I turned her into an elder, so that was the reasoning for that. I had kind of a hard time picking out a dress for the professor. There were lots of different options in the game, but none that looked exactly like her dress in Treasure in the Royal Tower. She's got this black dress with this really bright floral pattern, and it's got pineapples on it and everything. So I was trying to look for a kind of a really out there pattern, a really bright dress, and I didn't find one that was absolutely perfect, but I thought about this one for a little while, just because the flowers were really quite right, but it looked too young for Professor Hotchkiss and not quite crazy enough. And then I found this little number, which I thought was pretty good. The cardigan she doesn't wear in the game. I liked the pattern on this dress too, but again, it just looked too young. So I ended up going with this dress for Professor Hotchkiss. Even though she doesn't wear the cardigan, I feel like it's definitely something that she would wear. I could totally see the professor in this. So I went with it. I hope you guys like it. You have to let me know what you think in the comments down below, what you think about all of these characters and which one is your favorite, which one are you most excited to see in the Let's Play. I think they're all a lot of fun in different ways. I think we got a nice mix of characters and personalities, so I'm excited to see how everything unfolds. And here I was just trying to mess with her a little bit more, trying to get her to look more like the professor, because she definitely she looks more polished than the professor does in the game, I would say. Her facial features are definitely smoother. But overall, I really like how she turned out. I think she's really fun. It's kind of like a glamorous Professor Hotchkiss, almost in a way. And then I think we're going to her traits here. Professor Hotchkiss is super smart. I thought about giving her an archaeology trait, but I just decided to go with a general trait. Genius, erratic, and a foodie. She's always talking about food, so I thought that would be perfect for her. And erratic because she makes all sorts of crazy decisions at very odd times. She's definitely a kooky character. All right, now we're moving on to Deirdre Shannon, who is a character in Alibi and Ashes and is kind of like Nancy's high school enemy. Deirdre is just really jealous of Nancy. She just really doesn't like Nancy. So she was kind of fun to make too. I had to look up a little picture for her from Alibi and Ashes. And Deirdre does appear as a phone character as well in The Deadly Device. and she is supposed to be appearing as a phone character in the upcoming mystery, which is set to be released in spring of 2019, fingers crossed, Midnight in Salem. I am so hopeful that that game will actually be released in spring of 2019, because we will have been waiting 4 years for it. I wanted to pull her hair back out of her face just so I could work on her facial features a little bit more. I had a little bit of trouble with Deirdre. I spent quite a while trying to get her face to look quite right. The pictures I was looking at weren't great. It was kind of hard to get the details of her face because all the pictures were kind of fuzzy, just the way the graphics of the game work when you take pictures of them, at least most of the pictures online that I was able to find. But I think we get pretty close. It's definitely not spot on, but I think it's pretty close. So yeah, anyway, Deirdre Shannon, Alibi and Ashes, Deadly Device. Professor Hotchkiss actually is a phone friend in The Legend of the Crystal Skull and The Tomb of the Lost Queen as well. So both of these characters, both of these lovely ladies, do appear more than once. I think it'll be really interesting to see how the characters interact in the Let's Play, because they're all going to be living in one house. And they're basically going to be on full autonomy except for some very specific times. And Deirdre's traits, we'll see them later on in a little bit here, but I think it'll make Deirdre kind of difficult to live with, you know? I kind of feel like she wouldn't be the best roommate. She might be a little bit cranky. Professor Hotchkiss also probably wouldn't be the greatest roommate because she's a little kooky. You never know what to expect from Professor Hotchkiss. So at least that's not a trait that I would like in a roommate. When I have a roommate, I want to kind of know what to expect. I don't want somebody to be random and super spontaneous, but that's because I'm not random and super spontaneous. So I like to plan things out. I'm very, very organized. I like lists and such. I'm trying to shorten up her face here. She does have kind of a rounded face shape that I was trying to achieve. And a lot of the characters actually have shorter faces. I found out when I was doing this Create-A-Sim for all of the characters. It was a little tricky to figure out exactly how to do their face. And then some of them actually have really long face shapes. I think more of the male characters have longer face shapes. I wanted to give Deirdre some really pretty makeup. She is a really beautiful character. I do love her aesthetic. She didn't really have crazy thick eyeliner on in the game, and she just had kind of like, you could definitely tell she's wearing lip gloss in the game, so I wanted to make sure I gave her some gloss as well. And this isn't the hair we're sticking with. Obviously, I just pulled it back so I could see her face. So now I'm looking at some of the medium hairstyles. In Alibi and Ashes, Deirdre has kind of like this red flower on one side of her head, almost like a little headband or a barrette kind of thing. And there weren't any of those in The Sims, not without using custom content, and I really don't like to use custom content much, just because it's harder for people to find and it can be glitchy sometimes. So I was looking for some medium hairstyles, and I ended up liking this one, but this is the one I go with, because she has kind of these side-swept bangs. Her bangs are on the other side in the game, but I thought the length was good on this one, and the side-swept was really nice. So I thought that worked out pretty well. In the game, she wears kind of like this light green cardigan, not light in color, light as in like how thick it is, I suppose. It's a very thin cardigan, kind of in this greenish color. I thought about using this one for a while. I was looking at all the different cardigan options, and they were all really thick. They were more like a fall and winter type cardigan, and the one she's wearing is definitely like a little cover-up that you would wear in the spring or summer. If you're like sitting in the shade or there's a cool breeze or something. Ultimately, I ended up going with this green top. I thought the color was close enough, and it does have that long sleeve aesthetic. I thought it worked out pretty well for her. I couldn't find pictures that actually showed what Deirdre's bottoms looked like in the game, but I thought a floral skirt would be great for her. It's just fun. And I did want to put my own spin on some of these too. I didn't want to make them carbon copies because it's possible to do in The Sims, but it's extremely difficult. So I wanted to give them a little more extra personality too. I like how her nose turned out. I think that turned out pretty good. That looks like Deirdre probably the most. Oh yeah, and here are her traits. So we went with jealous because she's so jealous of Nancy. And then I think we ended up going with... Yeah, she's a perfectionist. She's always trying to like do things really well, and she's mad because Nancy does them better. And she is kind of mean, you know? She's a little bit shady sometimes, so I had to give her the mean trait. I was struggling with her aspiration too because she really just wants to be popular. She wants people to like her and respect her. She wants the fame that Nancy has. So I ended up going with a popularity aspiration for her. All right, so next we're moving on to Yumi Shimizu, who I hope I'm saying that correctly. Please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, if I'm saying her surname incorrectly. But Yumi is from Shadow at the Water's Edge, the 23rd mystery in the Nancy Drew series. Takes place in Japan. She's a really fun character. She is Japanese, and she owns a bento stand. She really wants to break apart from her family. She does not want to run the ryokan. She wants to do her own thing. She wants to be her own person. And I really respect that from Yumi. I think she's really a go-getter. So I was excited to include her in the game too because just her personality is really bubbly and fun. She's bubbly like the professor, but she's a little more grounded than the professor, I would say. So this hair looks almost exactly like Yumi's hair in the game. Yumi wears this big pink bow that we don't have in The Sims, so she's not wearing a bow, unfortunately. I wish I had that bow because it would have really helped to portray Yumi, but I think the hair turned out really well. Oh, accidentally gave her a monobrow there. Definitely don't want that. So trying out a few eyebrows, I found when I was doing this that the eyebrows really kind of set the tone for the rest of the Sims face. It was tricky to do that. I'm excited to do Yumi's dress too because there's a fun dress that came with The Sims 4 City Living that works out pretty well for her. It's really hard to match Yumi's aesthetic in the actual game because she really is out there with her fashion choices. She's very avant-garde with them. She even has this little fashion editor on her computer in the game that Nancy can mess around with, so that's kind of fun. So I was just working on Yumi's facial features. She was tricky too. I was trying to be really authentic to how she looked in game, and I think I got it pretty well, but it's close. I'll just say that it's close. She was another tricky one, but she was a lot of fun to make. They were all really fun to make, to be honest. I think picking out their traits was the most fun part for me because the traits in The Sims work out really well for the character traits in the mystery games. Mystery characters, you know, they always just kind of have a trope. There's different characters, but a lot of them fall kind of into these tropes that are always the same in a mystery. There's always like a villain character. There's always a red herring character, you know? Characters like those. There's always an innocent character that you don't think could ever be the culprit. Those kinds of things. So picking out the traits was fun because they are kind of stock. They're kind of standard, so it was easier. I gave her this fun pink eyeshadow. I couldn't really tell if she was wearing makeup in the game, but I wanted to give her the eyeshadow because it was just really pretty. And it goes really well with her dress, too, just that bright pink. So I knew right away I wanted to use this City Living dress because it seemed like Yumi's aesthetic. I could totally see Yumi wearing something like this, so I gave it to her right away. She has this fun red and white choker necklace too, and I really did want to give her a necklace because I wanted just something else there, but I was having a hard time finding good chokers. This was the closest one I got, so I just gave it to her just because. What did I do for her shoes? Oh yeah, and I gave her these fun tights. It just seems like something Yumi would wear. I don't think she's wearing them in the game. Do we ever even see Yumi's feet? I don't think we do because she's standing behind the bento stand every time we talk to her. But I thought it looked like something that Yumi would wear. And the hearts actually match the dress, so that works out well. I gave her cheerful, ambitious, and creative. And I did give her a food aspiration to be a master chef because she wants to do really well with her bento stand. I gave her ambitious because she wants to start her own business and do really well with it. And she's definitely cheerful and creative. She just seems like a very happy person in the game despite all of the hardships that she's gone through. So I appreciate that in her, and I wanted to have that as a character. Next, we're moving on to Laurie Gerard, who is a fun character to do as well. I think I got pretty close with Laurie, actually. I'm pretty happy with how Laurie turned out. I'm just looking up her picture here. That's why there's a little pause. I needed to find a good one to go off of. I did find a good hat for her. Her hair color actually was interesting. She almost has kind of a strawberry blonde hair color. In the game, I was looking at it more closely, and I hadn't noticed that before. There's definitely tints of like orange in there, which there isn't in The Sims. At least, not a strawberry blonde kind of look. There's an orange and there's a blonde, and then there's nothing really in between. So then I was just doing her facial features here, and again, she's one that has a shorter face, so I kind of shortened everything. Started playing with her features. It turned out pretty well. This isn't the hair we stick with. I just liked it on her right now because it keeps her hair out of her face, so I can actually work on her face and actually work on the facial features. I think Laurie will be another fun character to have in the house. I have a feeling that she and Deirdre will just not get along because they both kind of have similar traits, I guess. They're just kind of, they want what they want and they want it now. And they do not like to take no for an answer. So I think it'll be kind of fun if they ever clash, or maybe they'll be best buds, you know? Maybe they'll just really get along because they can team up and form an alliance together. Who knows? I think it'll be exciting to see. Anything could happen, really, because autonomy will be on full. So anything could happen. I'm not going to be controlling them a whole ton. Oh, here's the hat I was talking about. I was trying out a few different ones to see if they would work, but I ended up going with that first white one. It just worked out well for her. Yeah, it's pretty close to what she has. The beanie was kind of close too. She's wearing a beret, I think, a French beret, and we don't have that in The Sims 4. But this little white hat, it's almost like a conductor's hat or a newsie's hat. I thought it's basically similar. You know, I gave her a little more makeup than some of the other characters because she is wearing more makeup in the game. She's a little bit more glam than some of the other characters. So I had fun playing with her. I just love how she turned out. I mean, her eyebrows are different colors too. I never noticed that until I was doing this Create a Sim. I loved this pink vest on her. In the game, she wears basically a very light pastel-y pink outfit with kind of a fur collar, but we don't have any fur collar jackets for women, which I had just noticed when I was doing this. In The Sims 4, we don't have any fur collar stuff. I think there's some coming out in The Sims 4 Seasons. I saw that in the trailer, which is releasing, I think, on June 22nd. But no, we don't have it right now. And she wears these flared khaki pants kind of thing, and I couldn't remember what her shoes were, and for the life of me, I could not find a good picture. So I just gave her these like white boots. I thought she would totally wear those, just a little white boot. And it ends up looking pretty cool. I like how she turned out quite a bit. And this was me looking for pictures of her shoes. I could not find them. It was so frustrating because I feel like we definitely see her feet, but every picture I looked at was cut off, and I really didn't want to like close out and load up the game again, so I just went with my own thing. And she surprisingly isn't wearing jewelry in the game. I gave her materialistic, a snob, and what was the third trait I gave her? I think I struggled a little bit on the third trait because I didn't want her to have like all bad traits. Yeah, did I give her squeamish? I thought about squeamish for a little while. Oh yeah, I ended up giving her an insider because she really wants to be on the inside of everything. Snob and materialistic definitely makes sense. She has been raised rich, she's been raised in the limelight, and she loves it. So she wants more of that. And I gave her a fabulously wealthy aspiration because she's definitely all about the high life. Sunny June. I'll be curious to see what you guys think about Sunny June. He was kind of hard to recreate in The Sims. I was okay with his portrayal in the Shattered Medallion. I was okay with how he looked, and that's what I'm basing this sim off of. This is me looking up a picture of him right now so I can figure out how to make him. So I'm basing this look off of his Shattered Medallion look. But finding a good hair was really hard because in the game he has kind of this bluish and purplish hair, but it's up on his head. I was actually looking through some of the female hairstyles to see if there was a shorter one that had more ombre coloring in it, but there weren't any short ones. This coloring would have worked. And then here's the blue. I liked this one a lot, so I kind of stuck with this for a while, but I was trying out a few others. This one was kind of cool. He needed a really cool hairstyle. And this was the only ombre short hairstyle but the coloring wasn't right, and he doesn't have the bangs like that. His hair is definitely up. So I struggled with his hair a little bit, but in the end, I did end up going with that thicker blue one, because his hair is standing up a little bit more, and I didn't like how the short ones looked. This is more like the style he has in the game, but I hate how it makes his face look so square. It's really angular. This one's definitely more rounded around the forehead, which I really appreciated. So I went with this one. His eyebrows are the color that his hair actually would be. His eyebrows are not blue, so I made sure to fix that. Oh, Sunny June. I love his character, but I feel like he wasn't done justice in the Shattered Medallion, not nearly as much as he could have been. He was such a presence in the earlier games, even though we never saw him and had no idea what he looked like. He was just so present, and it was amazing to see. So now we have, in the Shattered Medallion, we see what Sunny looks like, and I like how he looks, but his personality just wasn't quite right. And also the fact that Nancy doesn't even acknowledge that she's meeting Sunny June for the first time. She's like, oh, hey, I'm going to treat you like any other character. No, Nancy, you treat Sunny June like Sunny June, because he is, like, he's a celebrity in Nancy's world. As she's seen him, like, all over the place, and she just hardly reacts, and it makes me so upset. But that is for a different discussion. I do still have to do my walkthrough and review for the Shattered Medallion as well. That will be an experience, let's just say that. So I was working on his features here. He was another one that was kind of tricky to get just right. I was trying to be really authentic with him. I don't know. It was just a little tricky. I do like how he looks. I think once we get the glasses on him, that improves his look a little bit. His glasses in the game are kind of a bright purple, and there wasn't quite the right color and shape in The Sims 4 here when I was making him, but I did find a pretty good magenta pair that I think will work well on him. Just taking a little sip of water. Yeah, he's starting to come together. I darkened his eyes a little bit because he does have darker eyes in the game. Oh, yep, and here we are trying to figure out his glasses. He's definitely got, like, thicker frames. I liked the color on this one, but the frames weren't quite right. And I liked the frames on this one, but the color wasn't quite right. I ended up going for these ones, the frames, more than the color, because I thought the frames contributed more to his overall look than the color did, especially from far away. So in the game, he's wearing just kind of like a blue button-up top with a little alien thing in the bottom. I contemplated giving him this shirt because the coloring was perfect. I really wanted to give him something kind of crazy for his shirt, but in the game, his shirt really isn't that crazy. It's just kind of this dark blue color. So I decided to go with a basic shirt and then more crazy pants. So I wanted to find something a little more out there for his bottoms rather than the top, since the top is a little more subdued. I thought Sunny was a character that would definitely play around with alternative fashions a little bit more. I did like these zipper pants on him, and those are actually the ones we ended up going with in the green. I liked how that looked. So I ended up going with that, and I gave him these black boots. I thought it actually looked pretty stylish overall. It's not my personal style, but I think he looks pretty fashionable. He looks kind of cool, and that's what Sunny is supposed to look like. But at the same time, his face looks kind of innocent. I thought about giving him some light-up glasses because I really wanted an alien aesthetic with him, but there wasn't anything really that screams alien. I did end up giving him this necklace, and it's just hidden right beneath his shirt. I thought it'd be kind of like a alien symbol or something like that. He's super creative. He's erratic, like Professor Hotchkiss. Super erratic. I mean, we never know what Sunny June is going to do. I don't think he even really knows what he's going to do. And I ended up giving him the goofball trait as well. Just, he's pretty goofy. I mean, with his doodles and his jokes and his just work ethic, I think it fits pretty well for him. His aspiration was hard. I thought about doing Joke Star, but I really wanted something alien-like, so I ended up going with Nerd Brain. I think that was the closest that I could get to kind of an alien obsession. All right, Dave Gregory. I like how he turned out. I don't necessarily think he looks like Dave Gregory in the games, but I do think he is handsome, which is kind of the main thing that we're going for, because that is Dave's character. He is a handsome cowboy. He's a good-looking man. Upped up his buff factor a little bit here. I mean, he's working outside on a ranch all day. He's bound to be pretty strong. Took off that weird facial hair. And then I was trying to, I think I just left this hairstyle on him so I could keep his hair back. He's wearing the cowboy hat, so his hairstyle didn't really matter. The cowboy hat covers up all of his hair anyway. So he'll have that on. I wanted to get a face shape that was a little bit closer to starting for him. He had a couple features that were fun to play with. He has a dimple in his chin that I made sure to add, and I did play around with his stubble a little bit too. He also looks kind of dirty, like he's just dusty and he's got dirt all over him in the game. I wish there was a way I could have done that. That would have been pretty fun to have, just because it changes the tone of his skin a little bit. It's a lot more varied in the game, which maybe is why I feel like he doesn't quite look like Dave, this sim version. But this is my sim version of Dave. I'm okay with it. I think it'll work. Ultimately, he looks like a handsome cowboy, which is all that matters. He almost looks a little bit like Ned, actually. Kind of like what I would imagine Ned to look like. Which is kind of funny, because Dave asks Nancy about being his steady. About if she has a steady back home, and she does, and his name is Ned. By the way, I am definitely a Ned and Nancy fan. I love Frank, but I don't think he and Nancy should be together, and I don't think Joe and Nancy should be together. I like Nancy and Ned. Ned is always there for Nancy, and that's what she needs. She needs someone who is going to be there for her no matter what. I was playing around with some face features there, because in the game he actually does have kind of some defined lines around his mouth, but they made him look way too old, so it wasn't quite right. I gave him the darker hair because his eyebrows were darker, and again, I just gave him like a short hairstyle because he's wearing the hat, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, cowboy. I think I remove the beard and give him just kind of like some 5 o'clock shadow, because the stubble here was a little bit too thick. It's thicker than what he has in the game. I really wanted to find a jean textury top for him. He's wearing kind of a jean button-up with a brown like leather vest. This one looked pretty good, but it wasn't long sleeved, and it looked a little bit too modern. This one I ended up liking. I thought it looked a little more cowboyish. None of them really looks like something that Dave would actually wear outside. Like, I feel like he would deem it not tough enough for all of the duties that he has to do on the ranch. And he's wearing jeans with a big belt buckle in the game as well. But I thought these Jungle Adventure pants actually worked out kind of well. They've got the little satchel on the side. I figured that was something that Dave would totally have. He would just have something on him where he could carry, like a pocket knife or a map or a canteen or something. He would just be prepared like that. So I thought it worked well for him. And I gave him some nice cowboy boots. I do like his outfit. I think that's probably my favorite part of him. I made him a loner because he is super quiet. He's very introverted. He's definitely a perfectionist. He wants to do well at his job, and that's really important to him. He loves the outdoors. He's outside all the time, and I did make him an outdoor enthusiast. So he's got some good outdoor skills. Next, we're moving on to Tino Balducci. I didn't necessarily plan to have two characters from the same game, but they were suggested by people in the Nancy Drew Facebook group, and they are both pretty memorable characters, so I did want to include both of them. So we're doing Tino here. I do really like how Tino turned out. I think he looks quite a bit like the Tino that's in the game. Pausing there for a little bit to look up his picture, just like I did with everyone else. So I am pretty happy with how Tino turned out. It took me a little while to start getting to his aesthetic, but I think what really made it look like him was his eyes and his nose. I think I did a nice job with that. You guys will have to let me know what you think, though, about his rendition in The Sims here. Tino Balducci is an interesting character. I feel like he acts super confident, but is probably actually just really insecure and is acting overly confident to hide his insecurities. But it kind of makes him end up being kind of a jerk, In The Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon, which is where we first meet him, the 13th mystery in the series, man, he is really condescending to Nancy, to Frank and Joe, so it makes it kind of hard to interact with him and feel bad for him, but as you start to learn a little bit more about him, I do feel a little bit more I do feel a little bit more for him. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. He does make another appearance as a phone character in White Wolf of Icicle Creek, where he is still pretty obnoxious. He's definitely less obnoxious than he was in Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon, but Tino has his flaws, which I think will make him a fun character in the house. I think he'll be pretty obnoxious, and there is another character in the house, the one guy that we have left that we haven't done yet, that also is pretty headstrong, so I think they might butt heads a little bit. I do like the mixture of personalities that we have among the male characters. We have Sunny, who's really kind of just crazy and out there. We have Dave, who's just really solid. Yeah, here's me going back to Dave, just giving him the 5 o'clock shadow, because I found it for Tino, and I liked how that looked better. It made him look a little bit younger, and I thought it fit him a little bit better. So we do that. Yep, and then here we are going back to Tino. Yeah, see, I feel like it just looks like him. The face just ended up working out really well. And Tino's got this leather jacket that I was looking for. But anyway, yeah, Tino and the last character that we're doing are definitely a little bit more obnoxious, a little bit more aggressive than some of the other characters, which will make them interesting. I'll be curious to see how that goes. I was looking at just the regular jackets in here, but it didn't quite work, so then I kind of thought I'd need to look for more of a suit jacket type of thing. Or did I end up going with one of these? Maybe it was the last character that I go with a suit jacket for. Oh yeah, this is what I go for. Yep. That actually looks pretty similar to what Tino is wearing. He's got this black leather jacket with kind of a blue top underneath. I just gave him some basic black pants or dark jean kind of thing, and then some basic boots. Just kind of looked like something that he would wear as a police officer. It seemed to work out pretty well for him. I tried out different kinds of boots, but I ended up going with that first one. I just liked how it looked. They seemed really sturdy for what he would need to be doing as a cop. And then I switched out for these jeans as well. Or did I go back to these? Oh no, those ones were too skinny. I didn't like how tight those were on him. I think I do end up going with these with the cuffs. I don't like the cuffs at the end, but I do like how they lay on him. I like the fit. So I made Tino self-assured because he's definitely always acting very confident, even if he isn't really on the inside. I struggled a little bit with his traits, actually. I made him materialistic because he really just wants attention. And I did make him romantic because he does have a love affair, you know? In the game, he seems like a flirty presence. I could definitely see him being that. His aspiration, I went with Mansion Baron. I felt like he needed an aspiration that was money-oriented, but I don't necessarily see him wanting a mansion, and I didn't want him to have the same aspiration as someone else. Dwayne Powers, you saw the traits we just gave him. I gave him the evil trait, the hot-headed trait, and the jealous trait. If you've played Stay Tuned for Danger, you know that all of those apply to him. He is just a fiery guy. He gets mad really easy, he gets jealous really easy, and he's got some questionable intentions. So I gave him all of those traits, and I gave him the fabulously wealthy aspiration as well. I didn't want 3 characters to have the same aspiration, so that's another reason why I gave Tino Mansion Baron. Doesn't quite fit with what he wants in life, but I thought it was the closest at least. Dwayne was tricky to make. I feel like I got close with him, but he's got kind of he's from one of the very, very first games, so he's definitely got a more plastic-like aesthetic to him than some of the other characters. Maybe that's why I struggled more with Professor Hotchkiss as well, because he's got that really old animation that I was working off of. But in the end, I liked how he looked. I was struggling with his hair because he's got this like middle part hair in the game, but it doesn't pull back in the back. Like there is a nice middle part in The Sims 4, but it has a man bun, and Dwayne Powers does not have a man bun. So I ended up going, I think, with just this middle part. I thought it was pretty close. I did make him an adult too. Dwayne and Tino are adults. Professor Hotchkiss is an elder, and the rest are all young adults, which I think fits pretty well with him in the game. He's got kind of a long face, and his cheeks are really sunk in the game. So they're a little more sunk in now than I think I end up going with, because he looks a little kind of like a vampire at this point. It didn't quite look quite right. So I mess around with it a little bit, but that is kind of how he looks in the game if you actually go back and look at him. He's an interesting looking fellow. But yeah, he will be an interesting presence in the house. I feel like Dwayne and Tino probably will not get along very well. He and Deirdre might not get along very well, just with her being mean and him being hot-headed. They might get into lots of arguments. It would be really fun to see that. It would be pretty hilarious if these characters started just arguing with each other and fighting with each other, just based on how they are. It would be great. I am so excited for this Let's Play. After doing this Kaz video, there will be another Kaz video and then a build video for the house that these individuals will all be staying in. All of these characters will be staying in. And then the Let's Play will get started. And I'll explain all of the rules in the first part of the Let's Play. But I'm so excited to start recording it. It'll be in addition to my walkthroughs and reviews, because I do still want to finish all of those. But I think this will just be really fun to shake things up and do some new content, something a little bit different. I'm kind of pulling in elements of the Hunger Games series as well. The first time I saw the Hunger Games series was by a YouTuber called Coffee. She did it with her Sims for Disney Princesses. She did a Hunger Games series. So this is going to be kind of similar to the Hunger Games series that Coffee did, but it's going to have an "and then there were none" twist to it. And I'm going to call it "and then there were none" because that's primarily what I want to do. Now we're going back and just looking at the characters here. Here's the lovely Professor Hotchkiss. I was taking some screenshots so I could show you guys those as well. But I kind of like just spinning in and looking at him here. Deirdre Shannon, looking all lovely. And then we've got Yumi Shimizu with her beautiful pink dress and her fun fashion. Laurie Gerard, looking very glamorous, as Laurie would love to look. And Sunny June, looking fantastic. Dave Gregory, looking super handsome with his nice little cowboy hat. Tino Balducci, very smug already. Perfect for his character. And Dwayne Powers. I think his outfit looks just like him. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this Kaz video, fellow detectives. I hope you enjoy it. And then there were none, yes. Yes, I'm super excited to start this Let's Play and let you guys see it. I think it will be a really fun time. Please let me know what you think about all of the characters in the comment section down below. I would be so excited to see that. And also, please let me know your thoughts about the Let's Play, and let me know if there's any specific challenges you'd like to see, or any specific character interaction that you might want to see. I'm totally open to feedback, and the game is going to unfold for me just like it is for you. I'm not going to pre-write out who will be eliminated at what time. It will be totally organic, so it'll be really exciting, I think. Thank you so much for watching, fellow detectives. I look forward to seeing you soon.